Now, I would rather not. Taylor, you know as well as I do what that means.
Oh. Taylor already has math.
Yeah, that's not my job.
And?
That wasn't you.
You did it. You're the one that showed me.
First.
Anyways, in a perfect world, I would not need to do all this work for you because you would already have done it and or understood it. So what I would like to do is write the right answers and have you say, Mr. Myers, that's not what I got, and explain it, or Mr. Myers, that's exactly what I got, let's move on. So, this first one, of course, circumference equals pi d, so you did 52 pi, and you got an answer of 163.36, which you then converted to feet and inches and got 13 feet, 7 inches. Any questions? Excellent. Then you converted it to meters and centimeters, and you got 4 meters and 15 centimeters. Any questions? Excellent. Then you took 1,000 meters, because you couldn't compare meters and kilometers, and divided by 4.15 meters, and got an answer of 241. Swish and flick. Any questions? No. Excellent. I like to joke about this bike. I think it would be wicked if those were in the X Games.
What are the X Games?
Yeah, what are the
Never mind. Or, better yet, like in Back to the Future, where Marty McFly goes back in time and he busts the kid's stupid little toy and he rides a stupid little toy like it was a skateboard in the 80s. I think that they should go back, send somebody back in time, like some super bike riding dude who's like famous because he's in that X Games thing that nobody knows what it is, and they turn it into a spy and they send him back in time and he's got to get away from bad guys, and the only bike he can get is this thing, and then he rides it like it was like now. I think that would be wicked.
Back to the Future show. Oh my god. No.
Let's just assume that M. Schumann has never watched the film ever.
The small wheel is the exact same thing.
I watched all
Circumference equaled 18 pi, which you then got it in inches, which you then multiplied by 2.54 to get it into centimeters, which you then divided by 100 to get it into meters, and then you did that whole answer, 1,000 divided by that whole answer, and then you got an answer of 697 rotations. Now, a bunch of you are going to right now flip out and say, Mr. Myers, it's 696. It is not, because when you do that work, you get 696.21. So if you only pedaled 696 turns, you would not get the full kilometer. I did that question on purpose because I knew almost all of you would round it off to 696 because that's lower than 0.5. That's why that question was there. If I was paying you per kilometer ridden and you only let that back wheel turn 696 times, I would not pay you. Does everyone understand? Is it a real life question or is it a math question? It is a math question, right? Because in real life, say, oh, I roll it 696 times, I'd be like, yeah, cool, that'll do. But the point of the question was to make you realize that even though you were technically in numbers rounding it down, in reality you would have needed to round it up even though it was less than 0.5. Everyone understand? Was it dinky of me to put that question there? Yes. Is it my job to be dinky? Yes. Byron. Mm-hmm. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters, yes?
Yeah.
So you had 163.36 inches, yes?
Yeah.
So 163.36, and you want the meters and centimeters, right?
Feet.
You want the feet in inches. Okay, so that's it in inches, right? Because the diameter was in inches. So that's inches. So you had to multiply. You want feet. So 1 foot is 12 inches. So the first thing was to divide, and that got you 13.61. There's the 13 feet. Then you had 0.61 of a foot, and you needed inches. So you need inches over feet. 1 foot is 12 inches. So you did 0.61 times 12, and that got you the 7 inches. Cool? Okay. Everybody else is good with them? Excellent. Now, again, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I told you to do page 41 on your own, and you were to stop at the number 4, right? Now, there's a reason I actually am going to write this out because there's something I want to show you guys. So if you were doing this question as you all did for homework like you were supposed to, you hopefully recognize by now that you should show as much work as possible. So surface area equaled pi r squared plus pi r squared, stupid piece of crap. And then, of course, you filled in the numbers. 1,200 equaled pi plus pi times 5 times s. And then, of course, you did 1,200 equal 25 pi plus 5 pi s. Now, here is where some of you are going to make errors because some of you are still not where you really need to be vis-a-vis algebra. Okay? Here is where you guys learning the steps to do something is getting in the way of learning how to do something. Now, I'm hoping that all of you did this correctly. If you didn't, you're going to want to watch. I need to get s by itself, yes? So I got to get rid of this, right? This is not a coefficient and a variable. This is a number. It is 25, positive 25 times pi. So to get rid of that number, you must subtract 25 pi. No division. All right? Now, there is some division you could do, but I want to talk about that in a moment. So if I took that away from that side, what must I do to this side? The same thing. Now, that is gone. Now I have 5 pi s. How do I get rid of 5 and pi? Now I divide, which means I divide that all by 5 pi. So now s equals 1,200 minus 25 pi divided by 5 pi. Now, if you get to this state, then I am ecstatic. I am over the moon. I am turning cartwheels. I am having dreams of I am not having dreams of Am Schumann, therefore I must be happy. So, but, this really means nothing in the real world, does it? Right? Well, the radius is 12,200 divided by, that's, show me that on a tape measure. Right? So when you get to here, you're going to have to break your calculator out to get a real world answer. Yes? And a lot of people screw up punching that into their calculator. Who has an answer for me? 71.9. If you did not get 71.9, you need to do some calculator practice. Here's what the other thing I suggest. When you get to this point right here, estimate. What is 25 pi close to? 75. 1,200 minus 75 is 1,125 divided by 5 pi, which is pretty close to 15, yes? Right? Then you can do an estimate there of that division, and it will give you a good idea of where you're going. It's 75. So if you got there, then you punched in all your work, and you got a crazy number, like some of the kids in my other class, I was hearing 200, I was hearing 4, I was hearing just crazy numbers, and they were all dead serious about it. They got to hear, they did this right, the math part, the hard part they did right. And then they're giving me crazy answers because they refuse to do this step. Don't be that kid. The more and more complex the stuff you have to enter onto your calculator is, the more and more important it is you have an idea of where you're going. So by the end of your long 30 keystroke punch in, when you get an answer, if it's right, you will know if it's right. Okay? So you don't tell me that you can walk the length of Vancouver Island in 15 steps.
It's going to be really big steps.
Big steps. Right? Estimate. Always. Yes.
Didn't you say that you can leave it down to like a pi?
Of course you can leave it that way.
You did like 1,200 minus 5.
No, because that would be wrong.
Would it not divide because it's
No,
pi?
that would be wrong. Because that shows me again that your algebra is off. This is 1,200 over 5 pi minus 25 pi over 5 pi. So what you wanted to do would be 1,200 divided by 5 pi minus 5. But that's not what you said. Understand what I'm saying? The 5 pi has to go to both. So this would also be acceptable. All right, the only reason I make sure that is there is because, again, this is mathematically pure. This is world pure. Right? Go cut me a circle out of that plywood that's 1,200 divided by 5 pi minus 5, please. Screw you, boss. Go cut me a circle out of that plywood that's 71.9 centimeters wide. Okay. See the difference? Everybody cool? Manala. Oh my goodness. Justin, how long have you been in my class? Does the decimal matter? What do you have for an answer? 71.4. So you're different from my answer by this much of a centimeter. Okay. There you go. Next one. What do you got? Volume equals pi r squared h. 500 equals pi r squared 20. Divide by 20 pi. Divide by 20 pi. 500 over 20 pi. I forgot the 0 and 20. Doesn't matter. Divided by 20 pi equals r squared. How do you get rid of a squared? Square root. R equals the square root of 500 over 20 pi. Tough to punch into your calculator if you're not practiced, but before we punch into our calculator, we get an estimate. What is 20 pi close to? 60. What number is close to 500 that plays well with 60? 600. Right?
Yeah.
And then the square root. What's 600 divided by 60? 10. Square root of 10. What square? Perfect square is close to 10. Square root of 9, which is 3. So your answer has got to be close to 3, yes? And when you punch it into your calculator, you find that it is 2.82. If you did not get 2.82, that means two things. One, it means either you do not understand this math or you do not know how to work your calculator, both of which are important, okay? Especially if you are planning on going into physics, because you can't leave that answer in physics. In physics, you got to get an answer. Sam.
So, like, even for this one, we could leave it on the back for now.
You could have left it there, but make sure you can do that. Alright? Does anybody want to talk about how you get from that to that on their particular machine? Going once. Going twice. Going thrice.
Going thrice.
Awesome.
Is there any?
No, there isn't.
Thrice, yeah, thrice.
This one, 7,602 equals 4 pi r cubed over 3. I skipped writing the formula. Math first. What are you going to get rid of? The 3. How do you get rid of the 3, Leighton? You multiply by 3 to get 22,806 equals 4 pi r cubed. Now what? Divide by 4 pi. 22,806 divided by 4 pi equals r cubed. If square root gets rid of a square, what gets rid of a wascally r cubed? I am not making fun of speech impediments. I am doing an Elmer Fudd impression. What gets rid of the wascally cube? A cube root. So the answer, best answer, cube root 22,806 divided by 4 pi. Real world answer, 12 point something. I can't remember what it is. Do you need to see how to do that one on your machine? Going once. Yes. Okay. On your machine, you are looking for one of the following buttons in red. 3 root. If you don't have that, you are looking for X root. This and this are most likely a second function key, which means they're printed on your actual calculator, not on the button. If you have this calculator, then you need to push the button that says math. And there it is. Cube root.
Wait, mine says X is the root of the line. Math?
So,
Yeah, I found it.
does everybody have one of the 3? If you have cube root, you just push the button. If you have X root, you must push 3, then the X root button, then this in brackets. Close brackets. Or you need to push 22,806 divided by 4 pi, then the X root button, then 3. You need to know how your machine works. Everybody try it to make sure you can get oops, I screwed up. Oh, now I did miss the first 2. 2,806 divided by brackets 4 second pi close brackets enter. Can everybody get 12.19?
What? I got 2.
Okay.
Same.
Okay.
I got the
I
right
did
one.
the exact thing. I needed.
Okay, okay, wait.
I mean, got the right one. Oh no, I put an extra bracket.
All right. Listen, please. Normally, I don't like to spend a lot of time with calculator work, but at least with you guys, most of you remember how to do it when you've been shown once or twice. So let's take a moment and puzzle through how to build that on our calculator. All right? First things first. Does your calculator do, if you do want the square root of 9, do you push square root 9? Or do you push 9 square root? That's the first decision you have to make. Know which your calculator is. Have you made that decision? Excellent. So now we need the cube root. So if I did the cube root of 27, which we know to be 3, do you push cube root button 27, or do you push 27 cube root button? Do you know? Excellent. Or you have the other option, which is 3x root 27, or do you push 27 x root 3? Those are the 4 options there. Know which one you do. Does everybody know which one they do? Everyone can find the cube root of 27 is 3. Excellent. So now you know if you push the radical button first or if you push the radicand button first. How many of you push the root button first? Okay, we're going to do yours first. To get the 12.19, if you push the root button first, this is what you punch in. You punch your cube root button. Then you push 2, 2, 8, 0, 6. Then you push divided by. Then you push bracket. Then you push 4. And now you may need to push times pi. You may be able to just push pi. Close brackets equals. And your calculator should show you 12.19. Does it? Excellent. Now, how many people push the root button after? Should be every other hand in the room. You guys do this first. Then you push your cube root button. And you probably won't need to push equals. Make sure it works. Thank goodness we have all this technology to make math easier. You got it? Okay, I'll come and see you. Turn the page over. Look at number 4. What do you have to do to find A? What does that mean the equation will look like? It will look like A equals blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
Make A equal blah, 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 and tell me why you can't go any further. Go. Why did I do this way? when you think of the algebra that you already know? And I'll start with an easy one. How does this differ from that?
You reversed it, you put everything opposite.
There's two variables, right? There's t, small t, capital A, yes? And what do you notice about t?
There's one squared.
One squared and one is not, which means I cannot put them together because they're not like terms, can I? So even when I get to this point, there is no algebra you could do at your level yet to figure that out, is there? Because you can't get t by itself. Understand? By the end of this year, you will have the mathematical tools to figure that out. But right now, that's the best you can do. The point of this question was not to make you tear your hair out. The point of this question was to make you realize that all math, because what would you do here? minus 7, or hopefully because you're in pre-dip, you would have just moved that 7 over there and recognized you had to change the sign. Right? You can move any term by changing the sign. There it was. I moved it over here and made it positive. There it was as a positive. I moved it over here and made it negative as an entire unit. Notice I am not solving. I am manipulating. Because this is insoluble at your level. You don't know what to do with it yet. But you should have known that you can move stuff around this way already, especially if you were in my class last year. Is everyone good? Okay. Now let's look at 5. What's weird about 5?
You don't know what A is.
You have no numbers, do you, Lauren? So I'm still telling you to solve for x. I'll tell you now, this one you can do. What would you do? What does solving for x mean? Get x by itself, so start working. What should I do to get to x?
I think you should square.
Leighton says you should square it first. Why?
So you can remove the
So that gets rid of the square root. So if I square that side, what do I do to the other side?
square.
Square it. So normally that a would be a number, right?
Yeah.
Like 5 squared, so we could write 25 there. But can I do that for this question? No, because I don't know what a is, so I have to leave it as a squared. What does that leave me on this side? 2x plus 4. Byron, your hand was up.
Yeah. All right. Yes.
Okay, what's next?
Divide by 2.
We subtract.
Pardon?
Just 2x divided by 2. You get
Okay, so you don't want to deal with this plus 4 first? Okay, no, it's cool. You don't have to. You're right. So, what do you want to do now?
I would divide by 2.
Okay, so you're going to divide that by 2 to get rid of that, which means you got to do what?
On the other side.
Okay, but you've forgotten something.
You have to divide.
You cut this in half, you cut this in half. Is that equal anymore? Fifty-50 shot. No, because you forgot to cut the 4 in half. You got to deal with the 4 first. Well, you don't got to, but that's the easiest thing to do. How should I deal with that 4? Minus 4 from both sides. Now what?
Now you divide.
Divide by 2. So now, a squared minus 4 over 2 equals x. Now, rewrite this in one other way.
Oh, a squared or divided by 2
A squared over 2
minus 4 over
minus 2 equals x. Both of those are the same thing. Does everybody understand why?
Yeah.
Can everybody manipulate an equation without numbers? Everyone is capable?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I forgot that we'd elected Taylor spokesperson.
Right.
And
Sorry.
then Sarah seconds it.
Well, anybody can second.
Well, she's the official seconder.
I'm just the best at it.
You know. Okay. All of you can solve this in your sleep. In your sleep.
Yeah.
Because it's all in one line. Half of you will have a problem with that. What is it? What's x?
92.
92. Why?
Because you have to multiply 4.
Because you multiply by 4. Because you need to get x alone, and x divide by 4 is in the way, right? Now, all of you know the shortcut here. When x is on the top and numbers on the bottom, we multiply. When x is on the bottom, we divide. Why? I don't care that somebody cheated and gave you the shortcut. Somebody tell me why that shortcut works. What is wrong with b? Where is that x? You've got an x in your bottom? This is math class.
Okay, X is on the denominator.
X is in the denominator spot. Where must x be? So let's do so. Right now, x needs to move. How do you get rid of divide by x? Multiply by x, which means you got to do it to both sides. So 60 equals 5x. Then what do?
Divide by 5.
Then you divide by 5. So x equals 12. Now the problem is you guys are always, at least every kid I've ever taught, has been given this as a shortcut. Numbers on the bottom, multiply. Numbers on the top, divide.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh wait, I've never heard
This is fun.
You need to know why it works, especially as we move into trigonometry, which is our next unit. Okay? Okay. Now listen to me. Listen to me closely. I'm going to shut up and I'm going to assign you the measurement review, which begins on page 43. Do not turn to 43. I said listen. I did not say turn your page. I did not say start work. Because what will happen is you will all start, and then you will proceed to ask me questions that I am about to explain the answer to. And that will make me angry because I will then have to use my voice to explain something twice. When I say you are going to turn to page 43, you're going to begin that review. That review has some spots, some questions in it for which you do not have an immediate answer. You must think. I know. How appalling. Or, wait, how amadding. Appalling?
Oh.
But my name's Matt, so it's a matting.
Oh, so it's kind of.
It's a bit of a stretch, Sarah.
I thought that flexible. I'm sorry.
Wait, what do you mean a Paul?
Paul is a name.
Where did the name come in appalling?
Never mind. Stop it. Stop it. It's my fault. I know this is going to happen every time. Why do I do it? Why? Why do I do it? Why don't I just do
Oh, that would make sense.
it? So,
I know.
you are going to have to think. Next thing, the way this is going to work. If you were not in my class last year, you will not understand this, so pay a close attention. Every unit will end with an assignment like this. That assignment will be done partially in class and finished for homework and marked the next day in class. You will mark it yourself and report that grade to me on the test, which will be the following day. As you can see is written right there, block D. Measurement review, arrow, unit 1 test, Wednesday. So, My heart bleeds for you.
You sound like Batman.
Huh?
You sound like Batman.
It was like Clint Eastwood.
Anyways, so tomorrow, what will happen is you will walk in here right after lunch. The bell will ring. You will talk for about 5 more minutes while I quietly wait for you to stop because my voice will still be bad. I will sit at the front doing things like, okay, guys, let's go. You won't stop talking. Somebody will notice. Then you'll yell at each other. And then these 3 won't stop talking. And then all of you will yell at them. And then we'll get down to business. Once business is gotten down to, I will walk up and down each row and I will look at this review, and there are 18 blanks to that review, and I will write down on my sheet of paper by your name the approximate percentage of work that you have done. If there are 8 blanks on your sheet, that means the best you could possibly do on this review is slightly better than 50%. So when you report your mark to me, you'd better make sure that the mark you report to me jives or swing dances or Bhangra dances with the number that I wrote down when I walked up and down the aisles. Do you follow me?
Are you gonna walk up and down the aisle tomorrow or today?
Tomorrow.
Oh.
So your customer should correspond with you.
Which means that if I get a continual result of high review mark and low test mark, that means to me, since my reviews are often harder than the tests, that you are lying to me. Please do not allow me to brand you a liar. Okay?
You cheated on the review.
Please. Now, the last thing. If you turn to the bottom right-hand corner of page 44, you will notice a question that says 10 gummy bears for a solution. A great many of you will not get that solution in class today. You will go home, you will puzzle over it for a moment, and then you will go to Google. And you will Google for that answer, and then you will copy it all down off of Khan Academy or wherever you find it. And then you will come into me tomorrow, and you will show me that question, and you will say, give me my 10 gummy bears, please. To which I will respond, great, go to the board and explain the entire reasoning to the whole class. You, of course, will say, keep your gummy bears. Or you will say, oh, that Mr. Myers, I know he's pretty smart. I'm going to use the 4th entry down on Google. He won't check that far. I have. Wait a minute. I'm smarter than Mr. Myers. I'm going to use the 15th one down. It's math. The first one is the same as the 15th. Math is math. You can't do that. I will know. But if you actually do go and learn that and copy it off Google and then actually learn why it works and can explain it to the class, you will have spent approximately 20 to 25 minutes learning math to get 10 gummy bears. It takes me 3 seconds to give you 10 gummy bears. You spent 25 times 60 seconds learning math. Who won?
You did.
Me, because you learned math for 25 minutes in order to get 3 seconds worth of gummy bears.
My God, that is smart.
So, feel free to Google every answer. I don't care. But make sure you can explain them. Okay?
Okay.
Go diddly-o.